Good to see you, and good to see everyone again. Great. So today, what I wanted to talk about is just to give an update on where I think the Ethereum ecosystem is going, and in particular, kind of some of the very interesting trends that have happened, I think, over the last year in particular, and many of these trends have been starting for the last 3 years, but I think in the last year particularly, they have accelerated very significantly. And just to kind of give a picture of what the blockchain ecosystem might look like in the future. So next page.
我不懂这个画，我不懂我画面现在在不在他直播，我不知道，我现在不能动他的直播，我不知道他这个灯他那个你得改的是他这边不是正常样子。
Right. So first, just a quick kind of summary of how we got here, and so how the Ethereum project began. So the Ethereum white paper was first announced, or was first started to be developed in November 2013. It was this document that I published and sent to a small group of people. And then in January 2014, the Ethereum project was announced at this big conference in Miami. And at the time, the concept of a smart contract capable blockchain, this blockchain that's capable of supporting general purpose computation, was still very new, right? It was something that excited a lot of people. There were a lot of people thinking about what are some of the interesting things that you can do on top of this, and there was a lot of attention. Then in July 2014, we created the Ethereum Foundation, and we did the Ether sale, sold some Ether to the currency inside of Ethereum to pay for Ethereum's initial development. Next slide. So next, in December of 2015, or in October of 2014, Ethereum died. There's this post on Bitcoin Talk, why Ethereum is dead in the water. Some different blockchain called Quora was about to have smart contract capability implemented. And so it looks like we don't need Ethereum anymore, right? And we should stop trying to build Ethereum, and we should focus on other things instead. But for some reason, we decided to continue building Ethereum. And in March 2015, we had the Olympic testnet, this big test network over the Ethereum blockchain. And in July of 2015, we launched the Ethereum main network. And this was this very exciting time. The network that we had all been waiting for was finally capable of running for the first time. And it seemed like everything was running smoothly. Next slide. Well, it looks like December 2015, Ethereum died again. According to the Wall Street technologist, it looks like it's maybe too late to save Ethereum. But so maybe we should have given up then, but we kept going. In March 2016, we had Homestead, the first major Ethereum hard fork. And in April 2016, we saw the first kind of major Ethereum application that people tried to build, which was called the DAO, right? So the DAO, I mean, it's very famous now, but it was this decentralized investment fund that people tried to create as a smart contract on top of Ethereum. And it started as a fundraiser. It got tens of millions of dollars, but unfortunately, next slide. The DAO got hacked, right? So this was this very famous event that I think almost everyone remembers now. Someone found a bug in the smart contract code of this thing that had raised tens of millions of dollars, and suddenly it got hacked, and the attacker was able to just drain a large portion of all of the funds from it. And so Ethereum died again, right? So according to this Bitcoin Talk post, RIP Ethereum, the green line, the scan coin is dead. The end of the line for ETH and long life to Bitcoin and Litecoin point, the only real cryptos, the rest are trash. According to Daniel Kraus, Ethereum was good. So this was unfortunate, but then instead we decided to try to fix the DAO hack by basically forking the Ethereum chain and allow the DAO to kind of shut down in a very clean way that returns everyone's funds. And it did succeed at this. It did manage to return everyone's funds. But, next slide. So 2016 was not, the rest of the year was not a good year for Ethereum. Ethereum died again. Because of the DAO fork, clearly a smart contract, which is something that was fundamentally flawed and could not possibly work. In September 2016, the Ethereum network underwent some denial of service attacks. It actually started right on the first day of DEFCON 2 in Shanghai. So a lot of stress for developers, a lot of bugs were discovered in some clients, a very hard year. December, Ethereum died again. Next slide. 2017 was interesting, right? So the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance was created. There was a lot of enterprise adoption for the first time, and suddenly it looked like Ethereum was not going to die, and Ethereum was actually looking like it's very successful at attracting a lot of interest, a lot of enterprise interest in many countries. A lot of institutions, a lot of regular users. So if you see the Ethereum daily transactions chart on the right, the usage of the Ethereum blockchain starts off being almost zero, but then at the end of the year, the blockchain becomes full and the transaction fees start going really high for the first time. And there's a lot of adoption. And the CryptoKitties, this first kind of major application that got a lot of people excited about Ethereum, happened around this time. There was also the Byzantium hard fork, which added support for zero-knowledge proofs, which would then allow applications based on zero-knowledge proofs to be built on Ethereum. So this is going to be very important for us later. Next slide. 2018, Ethereum died again. The price dropped, then the price dropped again. According to Arthur Hayes from BitMEX, we became a double-digit shitcoin. Ethereum died again. Next slide. 2018, Ethereum development started, and we had, while all of these other things were happening, there were a lot of things that just kind of quietly began to turn from the theoretical research projects into practical development projects. Dozens of people started working on implementing proof of stake and implementing sharding. We had this wonderful workshop in Taipei about 2 years ago. In November, Uniswap launched in 2018 a very easy to use decentralized exchange on top of the Ethereum platform. 2019, Tornado Cash launched, and this actually uses the privacy tools that we added in the Byzantium hard fork. But in 2019, it looks like Ethereum is still dead. Next slide. Ethereum dead. Next slide. So, where are we today? Next slide. So, surprisingly, Ethereum is still alive. Yay! In fact, Ethereum 2.0, or at least the first phase of Ethereum 2.0, is only, looks like weeks away, maybe a month and a bit away, we don't know yet, from launching. The Ethereum 2 testnet has been running for more than 2 months, actually close to 3 months now. And it had one bug near the beginning, but since then it has been working very well. So a lot of good news there. And in general, people are getting excited about staking, people are learning what it's like to run a validator node, and there's just a lot of great progress on getting Ethereum 2.0 happening. Next slide. So here's where we get to the really interesting things, right? So I think that for a long time, people have been thinking about the history of Ethereum as being more about the history of kind of Ethereum core development. But I think what a lot of this actually ends up missing, right, is that Ethereum isn't just about the core blockchain. Ethereum is also about the things that are being built on top of the platform. And I want to kind of zoom into Uniswap a little bit because Uniswap is this really interesting example. It's this very easy to use decentralized exchange. You just go to a uniswap.exchange, you type in how many coins and what coin you want to sell. It tells you how many coins you can buy, and you can go trade. And it's one transaction, and it just doesn't trade. Much easier to use than any decentralized exchange that existed before. Much easier to use even than most of the centralized exchanges. And at the beginning, there was this long period of time where almost no one cared about Uniswap. But recently, especially in the last 6 months, it's just suddenly attracted a huge amount of interest, right? So there's been a lot of people trading on Uniswap, a lot of people providing liquidity to Uniswap, a lot of people participating in it. In released version 2, recently Uniswap even released the token, and Uniswap has become this really important piece of the ecosystem, right? It's become this kind of meta application, this application that a lot of other applications rely on. And today, if we know that you need some particular token to participate in some application, you know that we can just go to Uniswap and join that, right? And so I think Uniswap it's not just a decentralized exchange that kind of works by itself. It's it's a piece of infrastructure that makes the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole considerably more user-friendly. Next slide. Next slide. We've seen some scaling challenges this year. Transaction fees have gone really high. There have been periods of time where transaction fees greatly exceeded even block rewards, which is something that not even the Bitcoin blockchain has ever achieved. I think there were even days when Ethereum transaction fees exceeded Bitcoin on block rewards. But what this means is that using the Ethereum blockchain is very expensive, right? Like, if he wants to participate in a prediction market on Ethereum, you need to pay transaction fees that were somewhere between $10 and $20. If you want to use some privacy solution, it would often cost $30. If you just want to transfer coins, it would cost $10. And we have known for a long time that scaling is a problem, but this year was definitely the first year where scaling really felt like a real issue that was right in people's faces. Next slide. But the Ethereum ecosystem is really stepping up to try to solve these scaling challenges, right? So ZK rollups are this scaling solution that we came up with 1 year ago. Or I think it was even 2 years ago. I wrote this blog post on ETH Research where I talked about how to increase Ethereum scalability to 500 transactions per second. And since then, it's improved and it's now 3,000 transactions per second. And this isn't just theoretical, right? There are real live ZK rollups that are running on the Ethereum main network. You can use them as decentralized exchanges. You can use them for payments, and they work, and you can use them. Next slide. So here we see two things, right? So first is something that I have been talking about for a long time. It's this Bitcoin grants, which is a quadratic funding mechanism that that is being used to fund public goods in the Ethereum ecosystem, right? So this is something that I've talked about many times. I've even, I think, talked about it at this conference in previous years. But basically, quadratic funding is this new kind of, you think of it as a kind of decentralized governance mechanism that allows communities to have a way to allocate funding going toward basically public good projects and choose which public good projects they consider to be the most valuable. Now, this has been running for about 7 rounds. It's running extremely successfully. It's allocating now somewhere more than $100,000 every month. And I think in general, people are very happy with the results. This round, they integrated with CK Sync, which is a CK roll-up scaling project, to do payments. And as a result, gig payments when going through Gitcoin grants were potentially like 5 or 10 or even 20 times cheaper than they would be before, right? So here, this is a screenshot, and it says save 96% on gas costs of the CK Sync. So roll-ups are actually being very valuable and useful. And we even see these different kind of layers of infrastructure in the Ethereum ecosystem linking together with each other. Gitcoin grants funds public goods, CK Sync does scalability, and CK Sync is improving the scalability of Gitcoin grants. And Gitcoin grants is in turn funding a lot of these scaling projects. So we're seeing more and more synergy. Next slide. Optimistic rollups. So optimistic rollups are like ZK rollups, but they are more powerful right now because they can handle not just payments, but also general Ethereum smart contracts. And so a lot of people in the Ethereum ecosystem are excited about the idea of moving to optimistic rollups as a very viable short-term scaling solution. And I recently made some presentations and I talked about how I actually do think that focusing on rollups is a very realistic short-term and medium-term scaling strategy for Ethereum. And optimistic rollups now have testnets, and they have been moving forward, and applications are building on them. Next slide. Within the last month, a lot of very interesting news. Zero-knowledge proofs behind the ZK rollups. They are now increasingly moving towards being able to support general purpose smart contract execution. So we have even more ways to scale smart contracts now. Next slide. Okay, Plasma is here. So Plasma, we were really excited about this 3 years ago, somewhat forgotten maybe 1 year ago, but Plasma is here. The OMG network is here, you can use it. So Plasma is also here as a scaling solution. Next slide. So the Ethereum ecosystem is taking this interesting path where it's not just doing layer 1 scaling and it's not just doing layer 2 scaling. It's taking this hybrid approach where it's combining the benefits of both layer 1 scaling and layer 2 scaling techniques. And so we see right now, we have about 15 to 45 transactions per second. If you add ETH1 rollups, then you can go up to 1,000 to 4,000. And if you add rollups and sharding, you can potentially go up to 100,000. So the scalability of things happening, or of the Ethereum chain is basically combining together the benefits of improving the scalability of the base chain together with these layer 2 protocols. And it looks like this path actually is capable of providing enough scalability that applications will need for the very long term. Next slide. So this brings me to the kind of conclusion, right? Which is that Ethereum is actually turning into what can really be described as this true and self-contained ecosystem, right? So for every problem that exists in the ecosystem, there are solutions in the ecosystem that are trying to solve it. So scaling payments, we have Buterin, we have ZK Sync, we have the OMG network. If your problem is that you want stable value and you want a hold value in a currency that is not too volatile, you have DAI, you have USDC, we have other alternatives. If you want to scale smart contracts, we have Optimism, we have Arbitrum. If you want a human readable username, so you want to send people ETH, but you do not want to be typing in addresses, then you can use ENS, the Ethereum name system. So if you want to send me anything, for example, you don't need to know my address, you just send to Vitalik.eth. Privacy, we've been seeing a lot of solutions, Tornado Cash, ZK Ogru, Nasdaq. If you want to exchange assets, like Uniswap, other decentralized exchanges, funding public goods within the Ethereum ecosystem, like Bitcoin grants, quadratic funding is doing this. If you want some kind of identity system, verifying that some account corresponds to a human and that they're not just a robot, but not someone with 10,000 accounts, right idea is moving toward solving this. So there's different parts of the ecosystem here, right? And these different parts of the ecosystem are often supporting each other, right? So the scaling layers are scaling the applications, the privacy layers are providing privacy for the applications, the funding layers are funding all of the other developments. So there's a lot of things that kind of can be done within the Ethereum ecosystem, but a lot of the most valuable things that really do come from this ability to just combine the different pieces together and just use these different pieces kind of composed up and get the benefits from just having all of this infrastructure at the same time. Next slide. One of my favorite metaphors for Ethereum is there's this website called txstreet.com, and it describes Ethereum as being like a symphony, right? So you have these applications are like buildings, and you just have people that needs to go between the different buildings, and if they want to get from some buildings to other buildings, they need to just get on the buses, right? And the buses are the blocks, right? The blocks in the Ethereum blockchain. And the thing I love about this metaphor is that it kind of captures something that I think the Ethereum ecosystem is increasingly about, which is this idea that it's not just about one particular application, right? It's about the ecosystem, and it's about creating these decentralized alternatives to just more and more of the basic functions that we need to have in our lives. And the more of this infrastructure that you have, it gets it's super linear. It gets the amount of things that you can do, and it gets more powerful exponentially with the more pieces of kind of infrastructure that you can go between. Next slide. So in 2015, I wrote this kind of controversial post where I said that there is no killer app for blockchain technology, right? And so I said this a few times, and a lot of people I think did end up kind of misinterpreting it. But I think in 2020, what I meant by this has become clear, and I think it's becoming true. Next slide. And basically, I think that blockchain ecosystems are not a killer app. I think they are a killer network. Right? And we can see this with Ethereum. We can see how it's not just about stablecoins or prediction markets or ENS or privacy or scaling. It's about the interactions between stablecoins and privacy and scaling and TAOs and ENS and all of these different pieces. And the value really doesn't come from the pieces, the value comes from the connections and from this ability to kind of use all of these things at the same time. And the fact that you have blockchains as this neutral base layer is what allows these kinds of ecosystems to emerge, right? The fact that you know that the base layer is decentralized, that many of these pieces are decentralized, allows people to be more confident in building applications that actually do plug into all of these different pieces. So I think that Ethereum is definitely taking a kind of central piece in this story, but it's also true with I think the crypto ecosystem as a whole, and including other blockchains, including off-chain components. Right? The more of these components you have, the more things it becomes possible to do within the crypto ecosystem. And at some point, it actually, for more and more people, it just becomes powerful enough that it supports people just doing more and more activities, building more and more things, and it actually starts to become a viable place to build the future. And I think we are not very far from that.